Hey folks, and welcome back to another Solforge draft. Um, let's have a look at this pack. From worst to best, I think Cultivate is probably the worst here. This is, I don't know, it would be interesting to play around with this, and I'd like to at some point, but it requires a very specific deck archetype. It requires a lot of Grove Matriarchs, it requires a lot of the similar creature that drops the seedling next to it, and so on. But even so, this isn't strong enough for a really conditional use in a very specific deck archetype. Next is either Unrelenting Dead or Energy Prison. It's a mediocre removal spell versus a mediocre creature. The huge regen is cool and is probably a very good creature if you actually buff it a ton, but otherwise the stats are a bit underwhelming if it's not buffed. Firestorm is okay. Mass damage is hard to use in a way that is not too balanced, though. It seems like too often it will hurt you as much as help you. Avalanche Invoker is quite good. It requires, again, a pretty specific deck. It requires having a awful lot of Tempest cards. But the stats are decent, and there's a lot of potential there, and it's much more likely to hurt your opponent than you. Although, about half the time I've used it, it killed some of my creatures. Wirewood Patriarch, though, is just one of the absolute best cards to start a draft with, so I'm going to go ahead and take that. As far as the Patriarch goes, this gives us a couple of options. Obviously, low-power creatures are very good. Tempest, for that reason, is not the best with it. There are a couple of things in Tempest that work well, like the creature that deals damage to an opponent or to an opponent's creature equal to its power and such. But not many are like that. Tempest tends to be high-power creatures. Alolan's a little bit better, although I've been kind of backing off of the low-power Alolan creatures as well and trying to take more of the high-power stuff like the Guardian Betas and such. Nekrium is interesting. Nekrium and Uterra have the lots of bodies deck, which is interesting. For example, the Weirwood Patriarch works well with the Matriarch, which works well with all the sapling tokens you can make, which works well with the zombies and such that come back once they have died. Because all of those tend to have low power, but they create multiple bodies, so that synergizes very well with this and with the Tarsus Deathweaver. So I'm going to start off with a Patriarch. I like Tempest probably least with this, and Nekrium probably most. I don't like taking too many spells. Alolan is just very strong in general, but probably less good with Patriarch. But I think I'm going to go ahead and take a Dreadbolt just because it's a very good card. And it deals with some problem creatures. Okay. Witch does not get the buff. I like having one Feral Instinct, but I'll probably get opportunities later. But I think I'm going to go ahead and start with Witch just because these options are kind of lackluster. Again, I'll take the creature. It's good to have a couple of creatures with big power. Wow, lots of Noxious Clouds, not a ton else. Okay. Bramblewood Guardian is okay with Patriarch. However, it's unfortunate that it does not get the buff at levels 2 or 3. Matriarch is good with it, just because of the seedling, if nothing else. And again, it's good in this 2-color little bodies, lots of little bodies deck. Deathseeker is also fine for the same reason, but I think Grove Matriarch just has better stats in general. Hungering Strike is probably my favorite removal spell for limited, just because it's less conditional than any of the others. And it's nice to have as many zombie infantries as I can get. Marrow Fiend, I like having a few of just to trade up. But I'm going to go ahead and take Grove Matriarch because it's definitely the best creature here. Here is between Grove Matriarch and Graveborn Glutton. I love Glutton and, again, tend to want a deck with as many of them as possible. But I feel like Grove Matriarch works very well with the Uterra Nekrium combo that I've got here. I'd like to get some of the spells that like having lots of bodies, but we'll see what we get. Fangwood Ravener is probably better than Instinct here, but not by a ton. Okay, Worm gets up to 18-19. Hulk gets up to 14-17. Worm is slower, though. I think Hulk is probably slightly better because of its level 2 stats and its ability to trade with most things at level 1. Touch of Blight is okay, but I think I'm more likely to even use a Nether Embrace, which is kind of sad, really. Okay, Life Shaper Savant is one of the best Savants. Grave Pact is one of the spells that I was talking about with all of these multiple body creatures. However, I also really like Glutton. I'm not sure. I'm curious if Life Shaper Savant is worth it, despite having a relatively low Uterra count. Things are even enough for now. I'm going to go ahead and take the Savant just because it's that good. Glutton may have been the better pick here, but... Okay, Runegrove Guardian is actually very good. I've had it upgrade a decent amount of times. Corpse Crawler would be nice to have. It works well with the Matriarchs we've got. But I think this is my chance to take a Glutton because we don't have quite as many of the multiple body things as I'd like. Okay, here's a Fellwalker. Now we're definitely getting further along that line. So I'm feeling a bit better about taking strength in numbers and such. Grimgaunt Spectre is fine, just because it's level 2. I don't like Soothing Radiance a ton. Okay, so Fellwalker versus Bright Tusk Sower versus Glenn. I think Sower is better than Walker. I could have taken so many Glens in this deck. Sometime I'm going to just have to see how many Glens I can take and take it over a lot of things. I wonder about Huntress. Huntress is also a very good creature. But I think I'm going to go ahead and take the Sower just because it works well with what I'm trying to take. Okay. So we've got more Nekrium than we do Uterra. I'm going to go ahead and take the Dark Shaper Savant. Kind of hedge. That said, here, I think Delver's the best creature, and I'm just going to take it. I'm kind of being pulled in both directions on that. Alright. I do really like Lightbringer Cleric. I would like to have a Grave Pact, but I think I'm just going to try taking Creature Heavy just because it tends to be good. And we tend to get more spells than we'd like anyway. Okay, Strength in numbers would be nice. I wouldn't mind having 2 or so, but Grove Matriarch continues to be a very, very good creature. I'd love to have a ton of them. Ditto Swamp Moss Lurker. It's just great stats. Ether Hounds, probably still the best creature, although I've definitely been growing to like Witherfrost Banshee. Given that we've got 2 Witches, I'm actually going to go ahead and take the Banshee here. It combos with Witch. It can have an effect and leave a body similar to Hounds. So it's kind of like a cross between the Vengeful Spirit and the Ether Hounds. I don't have any creatures that are super amazing with Necro Slime, but I think it's a strong enough creature just to take it. And Bear Rider. Okay, we're getting pretty low for opportunities to pick up the Grave Pacts. Charnel Titan would be nice because we have both the Banshee and the Ghastly Touch, and I am pretty high on Charnel Titan. Fellwalker works well with just having lots of bodies, but we don't have much that synergizes with it. So it's a question, I think, between picking up the Grave Pact like I've kind of been hinting that I'd want, or just taking Glenn. I hate to say it, I just like Glenn enough that I'm going to take it here and see how it is. We definitely do want several 6 or 7 power, so this gives us 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's pretty good, actually. Zombie Infantry takes us further along that. Alright. I think Cull the Weak is a decent removal spell to pick up here. Vengeful Spirit's fine. And I wanted at least one Feral Instinct, so I'm going to take it last pick. Sadly, I did not get the spells that synergize with it because I could not convince myself to take the spells over the creatures. That could be a mistake. Perhaps I should have been forcing the synergy harder rather than just taking so many creatures. We're going to see how this draft works, and we will change our next game based on that. I'll be back in a minute with the first game.